Hi, it's Steve. In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a rear shock on a Samsung-built front-load washer. It's a really easy job. Let me show you how we do it. Now, before we begin the repair, the first thing we'll need to do is to disconnect power to the appliance. So simply pull it far enough forward that you can unplug it, or locate the electrical panel, turn off the appropriate breaker, or remove the appropriate fuse. Now that we've disconnected the power, and we've given ourselves enough room at the back of the washer that we can remove this rear access panel. There are two Phillips head screws that need to be removed. Simply lift up on that panel to disengage the tabs on the bottom, tilt it out, pull it down and disengage the tabs on the top, and then we'll just set that aside. Now with the access panel removed, we have access to both rear shocks. If you're replacing both, or just the right-hand side one, you'll need to remove this electronic motor control board. Simply remove 3 Phillips screws and slide it away from the base and just tilt it out of the way so that you can access both the upper and lower retaining bolts for that shock. For the left side, when facing from the rear, we simply need to pull that drain hose down out of the way. And we have access to the bolt that attaches that shock to the outer tub. And through the access hole at the very back of the cabinet, we can access the bolt for the lower portion of that shock. So using a 13mm socket, we simply need to loosen those bolts. Remove the bolt and the washer. Now to remove the bottom one, you'll need an extension for your ratchet. And again, we're just going to go through this opening in the bottom, and that will line up with the lower mounting bolt. You can then lift the shock away from the tub and discard it. Now when installing the new shock, be sure to position it so that the piston is on the bottom. And we'll need to line up that hole at the top of the shock with the corresponding hole in the outer tub. So simply take the longer bolt for the upper end of that shock, position it in the opening, and then just manipulate that shock until it lines up. And we can pivot the bottom into position and extend that piston to the proper length. You should probably put a bit of thread locker on that bolt. Then we'll tighten up that bottom one. And we also think it's a good idea to put some thread locker on that upper bolt. So just make sure that the shock is stationary. Again, we'll just put a drop of thread locker on those threads. Reinsert it. And then we're ready to tighten that one. So just make sure both bolts are tightened securely. If you've moved the drain hose, be sure to reposition that. Attach the restraint to it. And now we're ready to put the access panel back on. So we'll begin by putting the long tabs into the appropriate slots at the top. Tilt it into position. And then fit the bottom tabs in. At this point, the screw hole should line up. Simply tighten those retaining screws, and then we can push the washer back into place. We're now ready to push the washer back into place, reconnect the power, and your repair is complete.